In the village of Ebony Light, cradled by the whisper of palm trees and the rhythm of tam-tams, lived two young women as inseparable as the sun and the shadow it casts. Lola, the gentle one, had fingers that made the clay sing. Her pottery was so beautiful that people said it captured the very soul of Africa. Samira, the bold one, had a mind as sharp as lightning and dreams vaster than the savannah. She negotiated for Lola's works with such fervor that they were known as far away as the great cities on the coast. Their friendship was a legend, a solid baobab tree whose roots reached deep into their childhood. They shared everything, their laughter, their secrets, and the hope for a bright future. One day, a nomadic merchant with eyes as cold as stone, dressed in rich fabrics, visited Ebony Light. His name was Mr. Beak. He was dazzled by Lola's talent and offered her a fortune to become his exclusive artisan. Lola, pure of heart, politely refused. "My art belongs to my people, and it is with Samira that I share my prosperity." The seed of jealousy, insidious, infiltrated Samira's heart. Why did Lola, so timid, possess such a gift? Why was it always her who received the praise, while she, Samira, was merely the cast shadow? Admiration turned into bitterness, friendship into a slow poison. But unfortunately, it was in this bitterness that she decided to do things she should never have done. Sitting at home, she was planning a Machiavellian scheme to become herself, like her best friend Lola. It was then that she remembered that in the village, there lived an old African woman, very mysterious and very powerful, who could make pacts with Mami Wata, hence her nickname Mami Wata. The following night, Samira, consumed by a burning desire for wealth and recognition, secretly went to see the most feared guardian of traditions, Mami Wata, an old woman who lived in seclusion near the forbidden waterfalls. It was whispered that she bargained with spirits. No one wanted anything to do with this old woman, as rumors said she had sacrificed her entire family, her grandchildren, her own children. Because of this, the villagers were afraid to approach her. But this was not the case for Samira, the cruelest and most courageous woman. She was so blinded by her jealousy that she didn't see she was losing herself in a dark void that would never lead to true light. But she was unaware of all this. What mattered to her was money, nothing but money, recognition, and popularity. Upon arriving near the village's forbidden waterfalls, she had to show her determination. It was there that she said, "I want to be rich." Richer than anyone in the village, Samira pleaded. "I want my name to be on everyone's lips, not Lola's." "My best friend," Mami Wata, with an enigmatic smile on her lips, handed her a small statuette bearing the likeness of a spirit of commerce. The spirit demands a sacrifice to loosen the strings of wealth. Not a sheep, nor a goat. It demands the most precious memory you share with your friend, the very essence of your bond. Bring me the object that embodies your first vow of friendship. Samira stood frozen. The most precious memory was a small, pearlescent seashell that Lola had given her when they were 7 years old, after saving her from drowning. That day, they had sworn to be sisters for life. Sacrificing that was sacrificing her very soul. Temptation 1. That night, while Lola slept peacefully, Samira slipped into her hut and stole the seashell they kept treasured in a shared box. And that same night, she brought it to the old Mami Wata. Upon arrival, she handed over the seashell. In exchange, the old woman gave her the statuette and warned her. She said, "This statuette must never be touched by water. No one should see it or touch it, otherwise the consequences will be terrible for you." With a determined look to respect these conditions, she set off and left the place. Once home, she didn't know where to hide it, because in the hut she still slept with her best friend Lola. So, she decided to keep it on her person. And so, with unprecedented stealth, she lay down to sleep. During the night, the spirit began to steal the talents and attributes of her best friend, who lay sleeping beside her. In life, they say, what belongs to Caesar shall remain with Caesar. He who has the misfortune of making a pact with the devil will be happy for a time, but unhappy for eternity. And this was something Samira did not know, but unfortunately, she would learn. The next day, a dramatic change occurred. Samira began to negotiate with a supernatural ferocity and cunning. She seemed to guess clients' desires and anticipate market trends. Money flowed in like a torrent. She built a house grander than the village chief's, dressed in silk and gold. The villagers, initially admiring, began to fear her. Her eyes had lost their warmth, becoming cold and calculating. And so, Samira moved out of Lola's house and returned to her own. Lola couldn't understand how she could have changed so much in a single day. Samira had become very arrogant and was respected in the village more than even the chief. Her name was on every villager's lips. The men wanted to be her husband, the women wanted to be her friend. Faced with Samira's daily increasing wealth, she and Lola began to drift apart. A few months later, Lola faced the opposite fate. One morning, upon waking, she felt an emptiness within. She tried to shape the clay, but her fingers, once so skilled, had become clumsy. Inspiration had deserted her. Her pottery was dull, lifeless. Her customers became scarce. Poverty settled at her door. She had become invisible in the village. No one respected her. Her life had become mundane. Where had the villagers' admiration for her gone? Nowhere. Lola was deeply saddened. They say in life, if people admire you, don't take it for granted, because the day it changes, you might fall, perhaps never to rise again, Lola thought to herself as she sat alone, dressed in rags, after having sold all the luxury clothes she once owned to pay off debts to her collaborators. The worst part was witnessing the change in her friend. Samira, whom she had loved like a sister, had become unrecognizable, distant, even contemptuous. The world belongs to the strong, Lola. One must know how to seize opportunity, she told her one day, with a coldness that chilled the potter to the bone, right in the middle of a crowded market. In reality, Lola had come to ask her best friend Samira, who had become very wealthy, for help. But unfortunately, the answer was a categorical no. As if they were strangers. Humiliated, Lola wept in the market like a child. Not because she had been publicly shamed, but because of the person who had humiliated her, her best friend, the one with whom she had shared everything, their room, good times, dreams, almost her entire childhood and life. And it was this same person who had done this to her. That night, Lola went to bed without eating, as she had become wretchedly poor. Her beauty had lost its glow, and she smelled bad because she didn't even have water to bathe. The next morning, with a growling stomach, Lola remembered the merchant who had approached her when she was prosperous, and whom she had refused to collaborate with for the sake of her best friend. This merchant was also very rich and rarely visited the village. When she arrived at his place, he didn't recognize her. It was only after hearing her name that he remembered. Once inside his room, Lola explained that she would like work. She wanted to work for him, in the field of pottery. The merchant, holding a grudge, said, "I'm sorry, but I cannot accept you. You refused me when you were famous. Now that you have become worthless, you come to me to collaborate. I cannot hire a woman like you. You are looked down upon in society. Have you thought about my reputation as a great merchant? I refuse to hire you. Besides, you have lost what attracted me to you in the first place, your talent. Today, you are just an empty shell. This is what happens when you trust someone. You end up betrayed. I'm sorry." Some advice: if you get an opportunity in life, don't refuse it, because you don't know if it will be your way out or your way in. You chose to trust your best friend, who today won't even look at you. Tears welled in Lola's eyes. "I'm sorry, I can make it right," the merchant said. "Get out of my house." Lola pleaded, "Please, help me. I haven't eaten a proper meal in 3 days." At first, he wanted to refuse, like any man who doesn't give something for nothing. He said with a sincere tone, "I will give you money, but it won't be a gift. In exchange, you must sleep with me. Either you give yourself to me, or you get nothing." Lola wasn't surprised. With the air of someone who had no choice, she agreed. And so, the merchant had his way with her, until he was satisfied. After he was finished, he got up and left the room. Lola was afraid he had lied to her, but this man was a man of his word and serious. After a few minutes, he returned with a briefcase, but Lola was weeping like someone utterly broken. The merchant said, "Don't cry, it was a necessary sacrifice. Take this. I'm giving you all this money so you can make a life for yourself, and change your circumstances. Go and prove to me that you are a good woman, and that you can succeed in getting your talent back. If you manage it, I will hire you." Lola, now dressed, took the briefcase with a deeply ashamed expression, unable to look him in the face after what had happened between them. The man laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm giving you 2 million. It's for you." Lola couldn't believe her eyes. She thanked him, stunned, and left the merchant's house. If only he knew the strange, painful bond that had now been forged between them. Even though she had a lot of money, she felt that something was still wrong. Her inspiration hadn't returned, and she still felt an emptiness inside. So, she decided not to spend the money foolishly, but only to use it when absolutely necessary. Desperate, Lola confided in the village's old sorcerer-healer, Baba Zeel. The man, wise and respected, listened to her story with his eyes closed. He then lit some incense and cast cowrie shells in an act of divination. "Your friend has made a pact with the shadow forces," he murmured. "She sacrificed a sacred bond for material wealth. Her success is built on the theft of your shared memory. That is why your talent has faded. It drew its source from the purity of your friendship." Lola broke down in tears. "What can I do? The spirit's hold is not irreversible. But to break the spell, you must retrieve the sacrificed object and return it to the purifying fire, in the presence of both parties. However, be careful. The spirit will not release its prey easily." Lola, armed with a courage she didn't know she possessed, went to Samira's house. The wealth on display was ostentatious, but the atmosphere was heavy, joyless. She found Samira, pale and nervous, counting gold coins. "Samira," Lola began, her voice trembling but determined. "Baba Zeel told me everything. You sacrificed our vow." Samira fiercely denied it, but her eyes avoided Lola's. Suddenly, a storm erupted outside, a rare occurrence for the season. The wind howled, lightning streaked across the sky. "Give me back our seashell, Samira," Lola pleaded over the tumult. "Look at what you've become. This wealth is consuming you. It doesn't have the warmth of our shared laughter, or the sweetness of our secrets." Under the violence of the storm and the truth of Lola's words, Samira's shell cracked. The tears she had held back for months burst forth. She fell to her knees. "I was so afraid of remaining in your shadow, Lola. I was stupid and greedy." Samira brought out the statuette and threw it into the storm, into the rain. In her distress, she had forgotten that the statuette must never touch water. She opened a small box, took out the seashell, and returned it to her best friend Lola. But as the pact stipulated, she had failed to protect the statuette. Suddenly, she began to bleed from her mouth and eyes, as if her arteries had been pierced. She said these last words before dying: "Lola, I give you back your freedom. All my wealth is yours. I am at peace, even if I must die. Goodbye, my." Without even finishing, her body grew still. Lola was weeping, when suddenly she felt something wash over her, as if something had been returned. Everything the spirit had stolen from her had been restored. At that same moment, the spirit's statuette vanished and returned to the hand of the old Mami Wada. With her characteristic expression, she laughed and disappeared. A few days later, after Samira's burial, Lola had managed to recover everything she had before. Her talent had returned. The next day, Lola found her inspiration again. Her new pottery was more beautiful than ever, imbued with a new wisdom and depth. She thought often about the merchant. Lola wanted to return his money to him, because thanks to her best friend's sacrifice, she had become not only wealthy but also immensely talented. Suddenly, she began to feel nauseous and vomited frequently. When she looked at her stomach, she saw it had grown significantly. That's when she understood she was pregnant. Meanwhile, the merchant had been arrested by the village chief over a debt. The man had fallen deeply into debt, losing everything, his house, his fortune, and had become very poor. All his friends had abandoned him, and his wives had left him because he had become destitute. As for Lola, she wanted to return his money. She went to his house but found no one. The house was for sale. After asking the village women, they told her the man had been arrested by the village chief's guards. Despite what had happened between them, Lola felt grateful to him and carried his child. So Lola went to the village chief's compound. She asked why the merchant had been arrested. The chief's spokesman said, "Lola, this man incurred a debt of 2 million and refuses to pay. He will be executed in 2 months." Lola declared that this man was her husband, and everyone was astonished. "What? Since when?" Then she produced the very same briefcase the man had given her so she could change her life in exchange for one night. The chief spokesman took the briefcase and counted the money. It was all there. And so, the man was released. Once they were alone, sitting together, the merchant said, "My name is Nicholas. Lola, thank you so much. I am grateful to you." Lola, still ashamed, couldn't look him in the eye. Nicholas asked for her forgiveness. It was then that she told him she was pregnant with his child. Nicholas was surprised, not because he doubted Lola, but because he had always wanted a child and never had the chance. None of the women he had been with had been able to conceive. Lola was the first. Nicholas fell to his knees before Lola and said with a very serious and determined expression, "I am sorry, and I know I have become poor. I told you I would hire you if you managed to regain your talent. Today, things are different. It is I who am at your feet. Do not look at my current situation," Nicholas said. "Lola, will you marry me?" Lola was deeply moved and didn't know what to do. Should she accept? But finally, she said, "Nicholas, I am sorry, but it is because of your actions that I am here. Even though you sought to take advantage of me, you still helped me in a way that deserves my forgiveness. So I agree to be your wife, and I hope that together we will succeed." A few days later, Nicholas and Lola were married. It was a village-wide celebration. After the marriage, Lola gave birth to a very handsome, very cute boy. Happiness was on the lips of Nicholas and his wife, Lola. And so, Nicholas became the new agent for Lola's pottery. Thanks to his skills as a former merchant, he sold his wife Lola's pottery for a fortune, making them highly recognized and respected in the village. Everyone held them in high esteem. The end. And so concludes this beautiful story, which began sadly and ended with happiness despite the tragedies. The lesson of this story is that even if you are betrayed in life, never give up, for perseverance pays and is the cure for poverty. If only things were much simpler. Leave a comment to share your feelings and send your likes by liking the video. Until then, take care. With our warmest thanks, the Mod Story official team.